My husband took out a massive loan to gamble and lost it all, so I've been trying my hardest to keep us afloat, but he's ungrateful for all I've done, so it's time to let him drown. Posted by you/thrower202261962. My husband, 30M, and I, 28F, got into an argument last night because we haven't been intimate in almost a month. This is because a couple of months ago, he was in a self-admitted manic state and took out multiple loans to gamble, losing all the money. We're talking upwards of $65K in loans from multiple banks. He also lost his job a month ago. We're in a terrible financial situation, so I've been working harder than ever at my job to make more money and help him pay off his debt. I work extra days and stay at work for up to 12 hours a day. I even volunteer to work at other locations for extra opportunities to make more money. Some of these are over an hour away. Last night, I came home from work after a 10-hour shift, physically exhausted and emotionally spent because we almost had an active shooter situation at my workplace, which stressed me out. He tried to initiate bedroom intimacy, but I was not in the mood, as I had been home for less than 10 minutes and he currently doesn't have a job, so he was able to relax all day waiting for me. He stood up, took my lingerie from one of my clothing racks, and threw it at my head, screaming, "Who are you wearing this for?" Because it's not for me. I couldn't even fathom entertaining that thought, so I tried to calm things down, but he kept going. Eventually, I just left the house and took a 2-hour drive. By the time I came home, he had fallen asleep. This morning, I went to work and noticed on our cameras that he had gone to sleep in the basement in the middle of the night and never came back up. By 3 p.m., I was extremely worried that something was wrong as he suffers from suicidal ideation, so I told my boss that I was leaving work early to check on him. When I came home, he was sleeping in the basement, so I woke him up. He asked me to bring him ibuprofen for a headache and to go pick up breakfast for him. So I drove out to get him a Red Bull, a breakfast sandwich, and a milkshake, came home, and gave it to him. That's when he reinitiated the fight from the night before and demanded to know where the lingerie was. The previous night, when I got home from my drive, I was afraid he would destroy the lingerie, which I had spent my own money on, so I hid it in a safe place. I wouldn't tell him where it was, and he started screaming at me again. I decided to leave the house once more. Not 5 minutes later, I received a text message from him belittling all I've done for him, accusing me of cheating, telling me to go screw whoever I'm hiding my lingerie for, and saying that I bore him. I don't even know what to say. I'm heartbroken, and all I want to do is cry in the parking lot I'm currently sitting in. I feel completely unappreciated for working extra shifts to help him pay off his debts, taking care of him even after he accuses me of cheating on him, and checking on him when I think something is wrong. Honestly, that one message left me completely speechless. I don't recognize this person. I have no idea who he is. I feel degraded and humiliated by the way he spoke to me. How do I respond to his accusations, and what am I supposed to do about the way he spoke to me in those text messages? I know he's going through a lot, but the way he's been talking to me has crushed my self-esteem. Edit. Some commenters seem to think I had hidden the lingerie when I bought it and that he found it and confronted me. That wasn't the case at all. We have a large walk-in closet with a rack dedicated to my lingerie, and they're in plain view. He has access to them all the time and often chooses which ones he wants me to wear. He knows about all of them because he helps me pick them out. The particular set he was mad about was a purple Valentine's Day set. I didn't wear it on Valentine's Day because I got my period 5 days early, so I put it away with the rest of my stuff and never ended up wearing it at all. Valentine's Day was over a month ago. Update 6 months later. Hi, this is a follow-up that I feel is long overdue in this group. I feel I owe it to everyone who gave me advice in my original post. It's been a long and hard road since then, but hopefully, this reaches the people who reached out to me and gave me the tough advice I really needed to hear. In the months following my last post, I have since left my husband and filed for divorce. After a few other incidents, one involving a gun, I started applying for jobs around the country, and by some miracle that I cannot comprehend, I landed an incredibly well-paying job that is almost 4 times my previous salary. I don't know how I managed to do it, aside from funneling all of my energy into one singular task that would allow me to leave. Once I got the job, I let my ex-husband know that I was going to be leaving without him. It was really nerve-wracking telling him I was leaving 5 days before I moved, but I had a really strong support system of friends and family members who made sure I was safe during this transition. Even though I told him I was going to file for divorce, during the first month after I left, he did everything in his power to convince me to stay, including threatening me on numerous occasions. He told me that if I chose to go through with the divorce, he would make it so financially destructive that I might choose to stay with him after all. Ultimately, it turns out that the law was very much on my side. While I did pay for all of the divorce fees because he is unemployed, I don't owe him anything, and the divorce itself was actually quite cut and dry. I have an incredible job, I live in a highly secure area, I moved far away, made new friends, and have been incredibly lucky to have an awesome work environment as well. I have my own townhouse, and I also took all our pets with me, as I didn't believe he was capable of taking care of them. It is in the divorce agreement that I will be keeping them for the rest of their lives. I donated just about everything I owned, came to a new place with only my pets and clothes in a suitcase, and started completely over. I can't express to anyone reading this just how liberating and peaceful this journey has been. Our house has since been sold, and he has moved across the country to live with his mom and dad as he figures out his unemployment situation. He still sends me threats followed by love bombing, although by this point, they are happening less and less each week. I cut off any personal communication with him about a month ago, and now I only speak to him through our lawyers, which is pretty easy. I'm not going to lie, though it was the hardest thing I've ever done logistically, emotionally, leaving was the best and easiest experience I've ever had. I think at the time I made my last post, I was in incredible denial, thinking I wasn't good enough as a wife and that I wasn't doing everything I could to try to fix him. I have since come to realize that I did, in fact, do absolutely everything within my control to try to save our marriage. I made us go to marriage counseling, I provided him with mental health resources, I reached out to his parents, and they agreed to send him to rehab, which he ultimately refused. I applied for countless jobs on his behalf, stayed late at work to make enough money for us, came home in the middle of the night and still made him dinner, and kept the house as tidy as I could with the little free time I had. I was there for him emotionally when he had breakdowns, I asked his friends to check in on him when he was feeling low, I made doctor's appointments for him that he didn't show up to, I consulted with a financial advisor to help us figure out how to pay off his debts, I put him in contact with a headhunter, and I gave him grace every time he had an outburst and degraded me. I spent months researching addiction just to understand him better, and I read books on how to improve trauma-bonded relationships. I did everything I possibly could. At the end of the day, no matter how much I loved him or wanted to make the marriage work because I believed it was my responsibility to fix everything, I had to step outside of myself and realize that if this were happening to anyone else I loved, I wouldn't tolerate it. I had to decide to love myself just as much as I love the other people around me, and that is the only thing that led me to leave. I'm safe, and I'm probably the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. I'm independent, confident, and learning who I am again. I'm incredibly proud of myself. My divorce will be final in just a few short weeks, and I'm excited to truly be my own person again. Anyway, I hope this update is sufficient, and I appreciate everyone who reached out to me all those months ago. Commenter. Please tell me you left him with all his debt. I hope you didn't pay a dime of his $65K gambling debt. Ops response. Nope, I did not. Thankfully, the courts were very good to me, and I'm not responsible for paying any of his debt. The only reason I paid for the entire divorce was to expedite the whole process, because otherwise I would have had to wait until he started making money, which he still hasn't. He's been living with his parents for about 3 months, and as far as I know, he's still drinking and playing video games, and they're getting quite frustrated with him. I feel really bad for him and his parents, but at the end of the day, he is an adult and is making his own decisions.